if you're getting ready for ARCA at Iowa next week, or tomorrow, it's Sunday, so for week 2 of season 2 of 2024, this should be a good video. I'm just going to talk about a couple of things that have helped me get a little bit faster and just run well here, but also this applies to a lot of things. So if you're a beginner going through the oval license progression and you just got your Class D license and you want to run ARCA cars and pick up a few bits and pieces there of information that'll help you, I hope this video helps. Everything that helps me might not work for you, but these are just some things that I've learned over the last year or so, and by no means am I the fastest person. I'm just one guy on the internet that's just sharing what's helped him. So and then we'll go in the in-car and look at a hot lap and talk about different lines too. So overall, the outside line kind of yeah, with your left tires or the middle of your car over the second lane or the second set of hash marks there on each turn is pretty quick for me. Yeah, there's also a set of bumps that we'll look at on lap 50 in 1 and 2. You want to avoid those. That definitely rattles people, and it gets me loose if you try to get on the throttle while the car's bouncing around. That previous lap was the hot lap. It was a 23.260. That could be a little different when we get into the races next week. The weather could be different. The track condition, I'll show you the weather right now. 67, track's 92. So, but yeah, so anyway, back to the lines. The high line is great for a hot lap. It's good for qualifying well. It's good for creating space during the race. It's also great for passing, and it's good for defending when people are trying to pass you. If they've caught you, using a middle line or the low line somehow, running that high line is a good way to defend your current position without throwing any blocks. So I'm not really a big fan of blocking, especially in this car, because that front end is just, it works like a wedge to get right up underneath of the bumper. So if someone blocks, or if you block somebody and they don't decide to lift, you're definitely going to wreck most likely, and they are too. So I'm not a big fan of blocking. So running that high line is great for being in a defensive position, still turning fast lap times. The caveat to that, though, is that you're going to end up using more tire as opposed to running a low line like we see there. That low line is great for saving tires. You do run the risk of breaking the car loose a little bit. I think I break it loose right here. Not too bad there. A little loose. So that low line is great for tire saving. It's definitely, I would say that's its primary purpose. Run that. I'm going to run that as long as I can, maybe a middle line. But when you're on this track, and a lot of tracks where there's a high line, there's typically also a low line. So you'll see a lot of multi-group racing, especially at Iowa. So let's get into the in-car, and we'll look at the hot lap here. And it's important just to have the right setup before you try and run hot laps or get ready for practice. I always run 60% brake bias at Iowa, and then I'll adjust it sometimes a little bit lower, but I ran my fastest lap time just with it at 60%. You can't go any lower in here, but you can use some sort of pre-programmed button to lower it. For me, I have a button on my wheel to increase it and decrease it. You can also do it in the window that comes down here. I'll show you how to do that here in a second. I always use steering ratio 8:1. That's what helps me. It helps me save the car. I try not to put a ton of input in, and for me, it helps me save tires. A higher steering ratio, it just means a lot more wheel input for me, so I don't get the same feel. So that 8:1 helps me, but use whatever's comfortable for you. Now to see how to adjust this, if you want to go even lower, the lower the brake bias, the more the rears are going to be braking for you, so it helps the car rotate. So the lower this number, the more the car will rotate under braking. So if you want to rotate it even more than this 60%, when you go in here, there it is. So you can just back it up a little bit. I would use this sparingly while you're learning to turn hot laps, but if you're somebody that's, you know, faster than me even, then you already probably know where this is. So again, I'm not the fastest person on iRacing by any means. These are just some things that have helped me. So that's the setup, and we'll get into the rest of the video. Okay, so here comes the hot lap. Smooth on the throttle on exit. The exit of 4 sets you up to run a fast lap. The first lap out of this 1 of 2 was a 23.557. You can see down there at the bottom. But we're just running that high, that middle to high line. Carried a ton of speed off. And then same thing, high line, kind of straddling the second set of hash marks. That's going to give us a 23.260. Let's go back and look at 1 and 2 really quick. So I'm either on the brake or the throttle as we go in. I try to get back on the throttle as early as possible. And we're just trying to straddle those lines. So I'm already back on the throttle before we get to those hash marks. Pretty much right at the Iowa sign is when I make the switch. So we're going through there, and then watch for my wheel to straighten up. I'm holding it basically half throttle, and then when I straighten my wheel up, I'm also going to go full throttle. So there I'm straightening it out as much as possible, just pretty much driving at the wall, but the throttle is rotating the car. That lets me carry that speed. And then same thing here. You'll watch I'll incrementally increase the throttle to make sure that the tires don't break traction. And it's that simple. I would run that exact same line on both turns when I'm trying to turn a hot lap. Back in it, straddle those second set of hash marks. Straddle that second set of hash marks. Unload the wheel and floor it. Like I said, you're going to see a lot of different lines throughout these races if you run this more than one time in a week. But that high line is going to be great for passing and defending and running hot laps. Low line is great for tire saving and holding a spot, you know, until you're ready to push it a little harder. And I hope that this helps. Appreciate you all watching, and I'll be putting more of these out. I've noticed that the couple of the guides, or like the things that have helped me, those tend to, you know, get more views, so it seems like that might help people more, might be more interested in it. So if there's something in terms of oval that you'd like to see, you know, I'm not the fastest, but, you know, maybe I provide a different way of thinking about it than other people. Just let me know in the comments. But again, yeah, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.